There were several things happening in Misiones, Argentina, where my grandparents lived when I was a little boy. The first thing I experienced, I was with my grandma on a hill at night. There was a lot of hills in this area. From this hill, we could see the hospital that was on a nearby hill. So picture it, we're on a hill, then there's a little valley, and then another hill where the hospital was. And it was a creepy looking sanatorium. We saw what she and I thought were angels flying above it. There were three of them, with large shining wings flying around and around in circles above the hospital. The next day, we found out that someone my grandma knew that was important for the community had died at the hospital the night we saw the angels at around the same time that we saw them. The second thing that took place happened by my grandpa's house that was also on a hill. So the school I went to was on another hill nearby, and one day we saw a ball of lights, like a balloon of lights, and it was flying above the ground, maybe 4 or 5 feet in the air. And it was floating downhill all the way to a fence, and it slowly climbed over the fence and then started coming toward us. As it came closer to us, it went zoom and disappeared. My grandpa was very excited. He was always talking about UFOs in the area. So then came the day I actually saw a UFO with my cousin. We were at the Seventh-day Adventist school going downhill toward my grandpa's house, and from there, at the bottom of the hill, we still needed to climb back up the other hill another block, and that is where my grandpa's house was. At the bottom of the hill leaving the school was a big soccer field, but at this time there were cows on it. So whenever no one was playing, they would put cows on there to eat the grass. My cousin and I were walking and stopped. It was automatic, just like that. We stopped and looked at each other. Both of us looked up and see this massive disc hovering above us. It seemed like a disc. I don't know if it was a disc or a sphere, though. It was so close we felt as though we could jump into the air, reach out and touch it. It was probably very high up, though, but it seemed massive. I can't tell you an accurate size of how big the UFO was because I don't know exactly how close we were to it. It could have been super tiny and really close, or super large and up high. To give you an idea of how big it was from our perspective, it looked like it was as big as the ship, and I'm not kidding, as big as the ship in the movie Independence Day. But instead of being black, it was a neon green color. If I looked up, it would cover at least 50% of my field of vision, and it was literally right on top of us. The strangest thing about it was that there was no sound at all. It was moving slowly. First it was above us, then above the soccer field, then above the street, and then it went in the direction of my grandpa's house. Right in front of my grandpa's house, it took a turn. And at this point, my grandfather was outside in his underwear with a cup of mate in his hand that he had been drinking. And he was watching the UFO with his mouth open in shock. My cousin and I ran toward my grandpa's house, and my grandpa was yelling excitedly, "They've come for me! They've come for me!" My grandpa ran inside the house and started packing a suitcase to go with the aliens. He was always saying, for as long as I can remember as a kid, that the aliens were going to come for him. But the thing went above the house and went all the way toward the horizon before it suddenly disappeared into some woods that were back there. My cousin and I were in shock thinking, what the hell? I was 9 when that happened and my cousin was 11. Imagine seeing your grandpa packing because you just saw a UFO. It was messed up. Any normal adult would have brushed it off and said it was an airplane, but my grandpa was packing to go with them. So for us, it was 100% real. And the next day, I was still thinking about the UFO when I went to school. At my school, there was a little bulletin board to put up news announcements. On the board was a story written by one of the teachers. He was driving to the community area from a close town, Leandro NLM, that was about 5 kilometers away. He described the same exact thing that we saw flying above his car. It flew the entire 5 kilometers above his car back to the school. We had a confirmation in that moment that it was 100% real. It was not just my cousin, my grandpa, and myself, but also one of the school professors at the Seventh-day Adventist church school. And Seventh-day Adventists don't believe in aliens, UFOs, or anything like that. So for him to put on the school bulletin board, we knew it had to be real.